So Valley Baptist Church was born on the first Sunday of December 1985. So there really wasn't much going on in 1985. Our real first year was 1986. Well, within the first year of our ministry together, the Lord began to bless us and we began to grow. And we had a couple of laymen approach Pastor Roger and I and they said to us, we would like to put you guys on the radio. We'd like to have the sermons recorded and have a good opening and a good closing and a 30-minute program. We want to put you on our local Christian radio broadcast radio stations here in the Kern County. So we didn't have the resources to do that in 1986. We didn't have the resources to do anything in 1986. In fact, that first summer of 1986, after we'd been together for like 6 months, that first summer was very difficult on us. It was critically financially. I don't know if you know anything about church finances, but we do real well in the fall, and then we do real well in the spring. We have a Christmas and an Easter offering, kind of balances things out. But in the summer, boom, everything falls off the cliff. People go on vacation, and as they're gone away, you're not receiving weekly gifts. So there was actually a point in the first year of us being together that I went back home and worked on the farm right after Vacation Bible School for about 6 weeks. I was intending to go for 6 weeks, but one of the men in our church heard that I went back there not taking a salary, and he insisted that I come back and he would cover our salary. And this gentleman also, with another friend of his, said, we want to put you guys on the radio. Now this was a really big step for us. We were only 6 months old. No one knew about us. No one had heard of us. And we were really not a very large congregation at all. I mean, we were probably running, in the fall of that first year, 1986, we were probably running 300, 350, maybe 400 on a big day, something like that. So we didn't have the resources. We didn't have what we thought was the profile to be expanding out like that. And going on radio was a big thing back then. You have to remember, in 1986, there was no live streaming, there was no YouTube, there was no podcasts, right? So the only way you could get Christian preaching or Christian teaching, there was no internet. In 1980, you couldn't go online and listen to a great preacher like John MacArthur or Chuck Swindoll or someone like that. It just didn't exist. The venue by which you could hear people like that and outside voices was radio. And Christian radio was extremely popular back in those days. And radio in particular, that was in the era of when Rush Limbaugh became a national figure for his daily radio program. So radio programming was the way to go. That was, believe it or not, that was very high tech. And we didn't know if we had that capability or not. It was going to require us to get equipment to record our messages, and then we loaded a company. We basically used the local radio station's disc jockey to be able to put together the program for us, because we didn't have any kind of media infrastructure. And these guys said, we'll put you on the radio and we'll see how this goes for, I think it was either 6 months or a year. And it just so happened that we got the perfect time. You can look back on that now, and God's hand was involved in that. And I'm trying to remember if it was 11:30 that we were on the radio back in those days, or noon. Either way, it was perfect timing, because there was a high volume of listening at that hour during the lunch hour. Many guys have told me through the years that in the oil fields, they would always make sure if they were in their pickup, they'd turn us on it. I think we were on at 11:30, and here was something else that was very advantageous for us. We were sandwiched in between, and I can't remember who was first and who was latter. I think it was Charles Swindoll at 11 o'clock, Valley Baptist Church, time of charity at 11:30, and then at high noon was John MacArthur. This was like the best time of the day to be on a local radio station, and we could not have been better positioned to be in between Chuck Swindoll and John MacArthur. And people who had never seen us or knew where we were from just assumed that we were in the same category as a John MacArthur or a Chuck Swindoll, who were two of the great faces and voices of evangelical Christianity, not only in the 1980s, but it's continued for these 40 years. They're two of the most influential communicators of God's Word. So we got sandwiched in between those two guys, and so our ratings took off. And then another radio station wanted to know if we could go on them, and then another, and I forget how many we reached at the max. It was up and down through the years in different locations. We even began to broadcast outside of Bakersfield. We began to broadcast on networks that took the programming nationwide, not a complete total covering of the nation, but across the nation. And one of the most amazing things happened is it was a broadcast that was going even international. And on one occasion, we were contacted by a man who was a Christian and had a church on the island of Trinidad. His name was Thomas. And he heard our preaching and he loved it. And Thomas reached out to us by letter and said, I want to invite you guys to Trinidad to come and preach for us at our church. So we looked at that. We made contact with him. We tried to find out all that was going on through that connection. And so what we did was we sent Pastor Roger, and I believe Ginger went with him, and another family for our church. And that became our very first international mission trip, sponsored by Valley Baptist Church to another location. We went down there in probably 1988, and that was unbeknownst to me, not understanding how important short-term mission trips is going to be in the life of Valley Baptist Church. That became our very first international mission trip. We made a great contact with Thomas down there. The next year they wanted Pastor Roger to come back. Pastor Roger wanted me to come with him. So we both went down there together and another couple of men in our church. That was our second missionary trip to Trinidad and Tobago. And on that trip, we had like these evening meetings where we were preaching and then we were meeting people during the day and witnessing to them. And on that trip, the converts from the first trip were ready to be baptized. And Pastor Roger and I baptized them in this lake in Trinidad. The claim was that there were alligators all around us. Now, I never saw the alligators, but the story has grown through the years that we had to dodge alligators to baptize people. What I will say to you is we baptized people on our very first mission trip down there, and maybe there was an alligator. I don't know. They do say that there are alligators down there, but as we came back, people were concerned that we were going to have our legs eaten off by alligators as we were baptizing people. But we had a great ministry connection in Trinidad, and several other trips went down there, and we helped plant a new church in Trinidad, get it started and get it off the ground. And it all came about because of our ministry on radio. Also, through those years, those early years, once again, I don't know how many people I talked to that would join our church or be a part of our church fellowship. They would say the first point of contact we ever had was through a time of charity. And so that radio ministry continues to this day. It probably is overshadowed now by streaming and all of these other platforms of media that we have, but we're still on the radio, and God has blessed it now these many 40 years together. It was called A Time of Charity. By the way, the Time of Charity was named in honor of Pastor Roger Stauder, who I talked about a few stories ago. So God has used our radio ministry to touch many, many people's lives.